Before we plunge into the dark, hit that like button and subscribe, because when the lights go out for the last time, this knowledge will be the only spark you have left. Picture the moment the grid dies. It doesn't happen with an explosion or a siren. It happens with a click. You flip the switch in the hallway out of habit and nothing happens. You wait an hour, then a day, then a week. The silence in your home becomes heavy, almost suffocating. The hum of the refrigerator, the standby light on, the TV, the street lamps outside, all gone. The sun goes down, and for the first time in your life, you experience true, absolute darkness. You rush to your emergency drawer, grabbing that flashlight you bought 3 years ago, the one you swore would save you. You press the button, nothing. You shake it, nothing. You pop the cap and find the batteries have leaked a crusty, white acid that has welded the contacts shut. You are standing in a tomb of your own making, holding a metal tube that is now useless. Wait, this is the failure of the battery hoarder mindset. You thought you could buy your way out of the dark, but you simply rented a little bit of time that has now expired. The misconception that will kill your spirit is the belief that electricity is a product you buy in a package rather than a fundamental force of nature that you can harvest. Most people believe that once the manufactured batteries run dry, the age of electronics is over. They look at their dead radios and a dark flashlights and see garbage, but you are going to look at them and see hungry machines waiting to be fed. We are going to stop scavenging for Duracells and start scavenging for potential difference. We are going to turn your home into a laboratory of survival physics where we exploit the chemical instability of metals and fluids to drag electrons out of the chaos and force them to do our bidding. You don't need a factory. You need to understand the redox reaction. Today, we are going to take the trash from your kitchen and the chemicals from your cleaning cabinet, and we are going to build a power plant on your dining room table to banish the dark. The first step in your transformation from victim to alchemist is to raid the junk drawer for your anode and cathode. You need to stop looking for batteries and start looking for two specific metals, zinc and copper. In a survival scenario, these are your gold and silver. Open your toolbox or that forgotten drawer in the kitchen. You are looking for galvanized nails, the dull gray ones used for outdoor construction. That gray coating is zinc, a metal that is desperate to give up its electrons. This is your negative terminal. For the positive terminal, you need copper. Strip the insulation off that extension cord. You can no longer plug into the wall. Pull the wiring out of a dead lamp. Even a handful of pre-1982 pennies will work because they are solid copper. When you hold that galvanized nail in one left hand and that bundle of copper wire in your right, you aren't holding junk. You are holding the potential for a voltage differential. You need to scrub the copper with steel wool until it gleams, removing any oxidation that acts as an insulator. The weakness of the unprepared is assuming wire is just for conducting. The strength of the survivor is knowing that wire is a chemical ingredient. By preparing these metals, you are laying the foundation of a galvanic cell that the grid can never switch off. Now that you have your metals, you need a medium for the magic to happen. And this is where we abandon the childish potato battery science project. In a survival situation, food is for calories, not for voltage. You need an electrolyte, a liquid soup of ions that allows the charge to flow between your zinc and copper. Look under the sink. Bleach is excellent. Vinegar is a classic. Even salt water mixed to a high saturation point will work aggressively. If you're completely out of supplies, human urine is a potent electrolyte due to its salt and acid content. The method here is to create a wetted separator. Take paper towels, old rags, or even pieces of cardboard and soak them in your chosen fluid. The amateur dips the metal directly into a cup and lets them touch, shorting out the circuit instantly. You are going to be surgical. You must understand that the electrolyte is the bridge, but it cannot be a flood. If the metals touch directly, the energy is wasted as heat. By soaking a rag in bleach or vinegar, You create a chemically active barrier that forces the electrons to travel through the wire to get to the other side. This isn't just chemistry, it's traffic control for subatomic particles. To scale this up from a science experiment to a survival tool, you need a vessel that organizes your chaos, and the perfect candidate is likely sitting in your freezer, the humble ice cube tray. This plastic grid is not just for ice, it is a pre-made multi-cell battery casing. Each compartment in the tray represents an individual battery cell. Fill each slot with your electrolyte solution, let's say a mix of vinegar and salt. Now, place a galvanized nail and a coil of copper wire into each compartment. Here is the critical engineering rule. The copper and the nail within the same cell must not touch each other, but they must both be submerged. The magic happens in the daisy chain. You must connect the copper of one cell to the nail of the next cell. You are building a series circuit. Each cell produces roughly 0.8 to 1 volt. A single cell is useless for modern tech, but 12 cells in an ice tray? That's 12 volts of direct current. You are effectively building a car battery out of salad dressing and construction waste. The expert edge here is to use alligator clips if you have them, or simply twist the wires tight, ensuring the connection between the cells is out of the liquid to prevent corrosion. You are stacking voltage like bricks in a wall. However, raw voltage is nothing without a device to consume it, and your high lumen tactical flashlight is too greedy for this homemade rig. You need to scavenge a load that matches your supply. This is where you destroy to create. Find an old remote control, a broken child's toy, or a battery-powered holiday decoration. Crack it open. You are looking for an LED, light-emitting diode. Unlike an incandescent bulb, which wastes 90% of its energy as heat, an LED sips power. Identify the legs of the LED. The longer leg is usually positive, the shorter is negative. This polarity is non-negotiable. If you wire it backward, it blocks the flow like a check valve. You aren't trying to light up a football stadium. You are trying to create a jewel thief effect, squeezing every last drop of energy from your ice tray battery. By connecting your 12-volt ice tray array to a simple resistor, also scavenged from the circuit board, and then to the LED, you create a light source that can run for days, not hours. The weakness of the tactical gear's snob is their reliance on high output. Your strength is efficiency. A low-light red LED provides enough illumination to navigate a room, check a map, or clean a wound without destroying your night vision or signaling your position to looters outside. Let's talk about an alternative method for when you don't have liquids or trays. The voltaic pile, the grandfather of all batteries. If you have a roll of pennies post-1982, which are mostly zinc with a copper coating and some sandpaper, you are in business. Take a penny and sand off one side until you see the silver zinc underneath. Leave the other side copper. Now you have a bimetal coin. Cut small squares of cardboard and soak them in vinegar. Stack the coins, copper, side down, zinc side up, wet cardboard. Repeat. You are building a tower of power. A stack of 10 pennies can generate enough voltage to drive a small radio earbud or an LED. The key here is compression. You need to tape this stack tight so the internal resistance is low. The flaw in most survival plans is bulk. This method fits in your pocket. If you are on the move, bugging out, you can carry a dead battery made of dry coins and dry cardboard and activate it only when needed by adding water or saliva. It is dormant energy waiting for the catalyst. But even the best alchemist faces the law of entropy. Corrosion is the enemy that never sleeps. As your homemade battery runs, the zinc nail is literally dissolving into the solution, and the copper is getting coated in bubbles of hydrogen gas that block the flow. This is called polarization. The average person throws the setup away when the light dims. You, the strategist, know how to perform maintenance. When the LED fades, you don't need new material. You need to refresh the reaction. Pull the metals out. Wipe the copper down to remove the gas bubbles. Scrub the gunk off the zinc nail with a rough stone or sandpaper. Stir the electrolyte or top it off with fresh vinegar. You can revive this system dozens of times before the metals are chemically exhausted. You aren't just a user of power, you are the mechanic of the reaction, understanding that the dimming light is a signal for maintenance, not a signal of failure, shifts your psychology from panic to procedure. There is a psychological component to this that is more important than the physics. We call this the beacon of sanity. In a long-term survival situation, total darkness is a hallucinogen. It breeds terror, depression, and eventually a breakdown of cognitive function. You aren't building this battery to heat your home, you are building it to keep your mind intact. The objective is to have one persistent point of light in your shelter. By wiring your ice tray battery to a single low-draw LED and placing it in the corner of the room, you create an anchor point. When you wake up in the middle of the night, confused and disoriented, that red glow tells you where you are. It tells you that you have altered your environment. It is a defiant symbol that you are still here and still capable. Do not underestimate the morale boost of seeing a light that you created from garbage shining in a world that has gone dark. Finally, let's address the ultimate backup, the earth battery. If you're bugging in and your house has a backyard or even large potted plants, the earth itself is an electrolyte. The soil contains moisture, salts, and acids. Drive a copper pipe into the ground. 3 feet away, drive a galvanized steel rod or a large tent peg. The moist earth between them closes the circuit. It won't be high voltage, maybe only half a volt, but the amperage, the volume of electricity, can be surprisingly robust because the battery is the size of the planet. Chain a few of these ground rods together in series, copper to steel, and you can run a small emergency radio indefinitely. This is the ultimate realization of the survivor's mindset. The very ground you stand on is a resource. You stop seeing the environment as a cold, indifferent place and start seeing it as a vast, untapped grid. Survival isn't about having a warehouse full of pristine gear that eventually breaks. It's about looking at a pile of rusty nail and a bottle of expired vinegar and seeing a power plant. It is the shift from being a consumer who is helpless without a store to a creator who is dangerous because they understand how the world works. You have stripped away the illusion that technology is magic. You know it is just materials and math. When the grid goes down, the person with the 100 pack of batteries is on a countdown to darkness. You, however, can keep the lights on as long as there is scrap metal and chemistry on this earth. Now look at your room again. The silence is still there, but the fear is gone. You are standing over your creation, a rugged, ugly, daisy-chained mess of wires, plastic cups, and rusted metal. You connect. The final alligator clip, the small red light on your salvaged LED, snaps to life, cutting through the gloom. It's not a floodlight. It's not a chandelier. It is something better. It is proof of life. You have taken the debris of a fallen world and forced it to serve you. The darkness presses against your windows, but it cannot get inside because you have mastered the spark. You are no longer waiting for the power to come back on. You are the power. So I have a question for the engineers and the tinkerers watching this. If you could only power one small device in a post-grid world, what would it be? A radio? A light? A clock? Let me know in the comments below. Hit like if you're ready to build your own grid and subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson on turning your home into a fortress. Stay sharp.